Hi guys, welcome to my little corner of the internet. My name is Samantha and today we're going to talk about books, like we do every day on this channel. More specifically, we're going to talk about the 8 books that I read in January. So definitely was not expecting to read 8 books. I went on an audiobook binger once we moved into the new house that we're living in, because I was listening to audiobooks while I unpacked my bookshelves, while I cooked dinner, while I helped with stuff out in the yard, all the good stuff. So definitely part of the reason why that number is so high. But yeah, also because I just read a lot of really good books that I was excited to read. But let's go ahead and jump right into it. I think I'm going to start with the 2 classics that I read this month. I already have discussion videos on both of these books. I'll link them down below, so if you want something a little bit more in depth. But for as far as the wrap-up goes, we're just gonna go right through them. John Steinbeck's The Winter of Our Discontent was my Steinbeck read for this month, and it was amazing. This is about Ethan, who comes home after the war and he finds out that his father has lost all of their money and he's working as a grocer. Basically, there's a proposition for him to make a lot of money, and you get to go through like his psyche of deciding whether or not he's going to do that in order to regain his wealth and improve his family life. So it was very intriguing. I highly recommend for people who want to get into classics and are looking at John Steinbeck as a way to do that. The next one was Don Quixote by Miguel de Cervantes. This was a buddy read I did with Jessie. Jessie absolutely loved this. This was a little bit more of like a middle of the road classic for me. This is about Don Quixote, who is a lord, and he has read one too many romances and decides to go out on his own quest. He grabs one of the peasants that work for him, Sancho, and they go across Spain, getting into all sorts of misadventures and learning a lot about themselves. And as a reader, you get to learn a lot about Spain and this time period. So yeah, like I said, in-depth discussions are linked down below if you guys want to know a little bit more about these classics, and if you want to read them yourselves, like get an idea, down there. Next, we had a trend going on for the beginning of this month, and that was books about unhinged women. I don't know what that says about me, but I figured like let's discuss. The first book I did on audiobook, I finally read The Silent Patient by, I forget, Alex Michaelides? I don't know. I've read The Silent Patient, guys. This is kind of like one of those OG thrillers that I always hear about, and people who love thrillers love this book. In fact, I always see it being compared with other thrillers. Like they're like, oh, but it's not as good as The Silent Patient. It's not as good as The Silent Patient. Basically, this book is about a woman who is accused of killing her husband. She goes to a psychiatric hospital because she's refusing to speak. She has not said one word since the night that her husband died. And this is from the perspective of a therapist trying to work with her and the chaos that ensues from there. I personally thought it was okay. Thrillers are not my thing though, so that might be why. I think this is like the final nail in the coffin, that I should just give up on thrillers because I don't really enjoy them, as awful as that is. Now, that being said, like I said, we did a lot of unhinged women. I would listen to the audiobook Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn, which is another book that is near and dear to a lot of booktubers and a lot of people who like thrillers. I thought this was okay. It was middle of the road. I honestly don't even want to give you a synopsis because I'm afraid I'm going to give you spoilers, because it's really hard to describe without spoilers. And I don't have the physical book in front of me right now to actually just like read you off the synopsis. However, this is an oldie, so if you haven't gotten into any spoilers yet, count yourself lucky. There's also a movie about it too. I think that I was kind of spoiled for it, and that's why it didn't impact me as much as probably someone who read it right off the publisher. But yeah, so those were those 2 that I listened to on audiobook. And then, sorry, it's actually kind of ironic that I had to go wrangle my son, because I'm going to tell you about this next book, which is about another unhinged woman, and that is Night Bitch by Rachel Yoder. The reason why it's ironic that I had to go do a parenting thing was because this book is about a woman who was struggling with coming to be a stay-at-home mom after being a working mother. And this literally, I don't know how Rachel Yoder did it, I don't know how she got into my brain, but she literally encapsulated every single thought bad and good that I've had about becoming a stay-at-home mother after being a working mom for, I don't know, like a year and a half. It's very interesting. I say interesting because it's very wild and it's very weird. The main character literally becomes a dog. Like, oh, metaphorically? No, literally becomes a dog. Of course it is a metaphor for other things, but yes, I absolutely loved this book. I adored it. I highly recommend for anybody else who has the experience of being a mom or is just looking for like a really just weird book about an unhinged woman. Down. Put it on the list. The next one, I don't know. I think I would still put it in unhinged woman category because there is a character in this book that is fairly unhinged. And the next book I read was Interview with the Vampire by Anne Rice. I don't know why it took me so long to read this book, but it took me forever, and I'm a big vampire fan, and I'm wrong for that because this book is absolutely amazing. There's a reason why people talk about this book. There's a reason why Anne Rice is like a historic author. Like, you can't get better than this. The discussions on mortality, on evil, on good, on immortality, on God and religion just absolutely blew my mind. The writing style is beautiful and lyrical. You're picturing New Orleans, you're like picturing these vampires and all the eras that they live in, and it's just really, it's a really beautiful, highly recommend for any vampire fan to just go in and pick it up. I feel like we just like, maybe as a collective have skipped over this and I feel like anyone who's a vampire fan needs to go back and read Anne Rice if you haven't already. Absolutely beautiful. I'm looking forward to picking up the second one. This is actually a buddy read with Jess, so I get to do it again. If you don't know, I should probably go over that as well. The synopsis for this one is that there is a man who becomes a vampire, and he's getting an interview. Like, he's giving an interview about his life as a vampire. The unhinged woman aspect comes into the fact that he created a vampire, and that vampire was an 8-year-old girl. And so there's a perspective of this 8-year-old girl who's actually like a 600-year-old vampire, which is like this really weird, twisted, unhinged woman sort of perspective, and I absolutely adored it. I absolutely loved it. I highly recommend. If you haven't seen my other wrap-ups, I actually also read The Mummy by Anne Rice, which was or Ramses the Dead. Ramses the Dead or The Mummy. It has 2 titles. That actually inspired the movie The Mummy with Brendan Fraser in it. And while it had nothing to do with the movie, like, they don't compare at all, it is still a very amazingly well-written book. Anne Rice has the ability to do like the subtly sensual, lyrical prose, and it's so beautiful. So highly recommend picking this up if you haven't already. Okay, the next book has an unhinged woman as well. I don't know if I'd necessarily call her unhinged. I guess the perspective is that she is unhinged. But I read Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens, I think is how you pronounce her first name. I did not look it up before this video because you guys know me too well. Of course I didn't do that. This book is about a girl who grows up in the North Carolina marshes by herself. It kind of follows her life. Eventually what happens, the reason that we're here is that there's a murder of a very popular man in town, and the townspeople accuse her of having done that murder because she is the outlier, the marsh girl, the weird person on the edge of their society. And you kind of get that dialogue, you get that conversation. But more importantly with this book, there's a synopsis, but let me tell you what this book is really about, and that is the beautiful North Carolina marshes. Owens does such a great job of describing the North Carolina marshes that, like, you can be there. You can see it, you can smell it, you can feel it. It's absolutely amazing. She did such a great job doing that. Personally, as my opinions go, this is more like a 3-star book for me, only because I just didn't get along with the main character. I didn't vibe with her. Like I said, personal opinion. If you're interested in this at all, I'd say go ahead and pick it up. I mean, there's a reason why people talk about it. There is. It's a beautifully well-written book. And yeah, that was the unhinged woman part, was that marsh girl, this one. And last, and very much least, I might post a vlog about this, I may not. We'll see. I don't have much to say in the vlog, so it'd be kind of like a bummer one. But Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. Relationship between each other. Basically, I can't discuss this book is how I feel about this book, because I didn't like it at all. I know this is like the best book of 2022 and everybody is talking about it and loving it. However, I didn't like any of the characters. It reminded me a lot of like Normal People by Sally Rooney, where like there's very unlikable characters and it's just very just like everyday boring normal people. And I didn't like it. And they were very mean and rude and didn't communicate with each other, and I just really didn't like either one of these characters at all. And then about 73% through, there's an event that occurs. There's like centers around gun violence, and I think it was a very cheap ploy of the author to try to make you feel for these characters that she has set up to be very unlikable. And I was like, no, that's not going to be for me. Once again, I have to like the characters. It was the same thing with like Where the Crawdads Sing. I have to like the characters, and I don't even think it was personally me. I think that Gabrielle Zevin set these characters up to be unlikable. If it's a take on humanism, if it's a take on like I said, more like a Normal People of Sally Rooney, where it's just a dialogue of like, this is how real people are. I don't know, but I didn't like it. And, I also am not a video game fan, so I didn't even get to like hinge on the fact that all the video game references and metaphors and like the beautiful conversations around video games I didn't really click with, because I don't like video games. So if you like video games, maybe this is something more that you'd be into. If you like Normal People by Sally Rooney, this is probably something that you would be into. But personally, this was like a 1 star for me. I honestly don't even want to put this on my shelf, because I'm fairly upset about like the cheap literary device of like, let's have an episode of gun violence in order for you to feel bad about not liking a character, or like make you feel more for this character and the characters that surround him. I'm just gonna, not my thing. I'm sorry. If you're interested in hearing more about how I felt about this book, go ahead and comment below. I might post the vlog. I don't know. I feel like my perspective might be a little bit, not only an unpopular opinion, but also might be a little controversial when I get more in depth to it. So if you want to hear about that, go ahead and comment down below and I'll post the vlog. If not, I will just leave it on my computer to wither and die, like this book will, as I pass it on to somebody else, because I don't even want to look at it. Anyways, that was my January, which I think was fairly impressive for having read 8 books in a month that I was busy setting up the house. My husband went back to work. I am now, you know, getting back to that stay-at-home mom life of dealing with 2 children all the time, which maybe that's why this one was so impactful. I don't know, but yeah, this was it. It was a very successful reading month is what I would have to say. Besides tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow, I didn't have too many bad things to say about these books, and I'm excited to read some more next month. My TBR will be coming up later this week, so make sure you subscribe to check it out and see what I'll be reading in February. There'll be more Steinbeck, there'll be more classics, there might be some Hemingway, there might be some 24-hour readathons. We'll see. The reading plans are coming later this week, so make sure you subscribe, like, and comment, and I will see you guys in the next video.